Welcome to PTGtv. This is your host, Antonio Hicks, aka Escaping the Matrix. In this episode of Real Talking Conversation, I welcome on my special guest, someone I'm very excited to talk to, Miss Willishia Plant. She's a business and trademark lawyer, in a discussion about how to protect your intellectual property. Welcome onto the show, Willishia.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Antonio. Thank you for having me. It's a pleasure to be here.
Now, can you tell a little bit everybody about, who you are, like what got you into law, and what made you specialize in this form of law?
Okay, so my name is Attorney Willishia Plant. I am managing partner of Esquire Litigation Group, also managing partner of the Brand Plant. It is a intellectual law firm, remote intellectual law firm. I always known that I wanted to be an attorney since I was a little girl, since about 12 years old. I think I told my mom the first time that I wanted to be an attorney. I originally thought that I was going to do criminal law, be out there defending my people. But I spent a little bit of time at the PD's office interning while in school and also outside after I graduated. Wasn't really my cup of tea. And then ultimately, intellectual property law fell into my lap. And I say that all the time because I did it for a friend. I ultimately did it for one of my friends. She filed an application herself. And then she had a bunch of different hiccups, and I ended up figuring it out for her. And it just kind of like rolled out from there. I started advertising it, and I started offering that as a service and letting people know that I did it. I branded out, and then ultimately it just took off. So that's how intellectual property came about in my legal career. But I've definitely always known that I admire working with people. I've always had a passion for helping people. And then just the whole business and branding index of it all. I come from a long line of entrepreneurs in my family. So it kind of just meshed and made sense and worked out. And when it feels right, 9 times out of 10, it is right. So.
Oh, absolutely. So what really made me want to like hit you up and slide into your DMs and ask you, I was referred by Alicia Luncheon. I don't know if you know I don't know if you know who the Luncheon lawyer is.
Yeah, I know her.
The
community is very small. It's only 5% of us that are Black attorneys, so very small.
And she's definitely doing her thing here in Atlanta. But so I saw this thing about this guy that made the emoji app for the Kardashians. And I know how much money they were making off of it. And even Kanye West was even bragging about it in one of his songs. But now the guy that developed the app for them is homeless. And he was telling his story. And he was like, well, once he had built the app out, he really didn't read the contract that he was signing. And so he ultimately ended up giving all of his rights away to the Kardashians. So he made some money off of it, but it really wasn't enough to sustain, his lifestyle. So he ended up trying to he did sue them. And they countersued him, and they ended up winning, taking up the bulk of the money that he had, ultimately making him homeless. And I was like, so, for me, especially working in the IT community, and I'm a full-time corporate person, but I'm also an entrepreneur as well, too. I'm like, let me reach out and actually try to talk to somebody so people can understand how important it is for them to protect, their property, especially when they're creating something for somebody else.
Yeah, it's super important. And you hear these tragedy stories all the time where you see someone up on top of the world. They've created a major item. They've partnered up with these, celebrities, most likely people that have a huge legal team behind them. And then they end up slipping on their pimping and then find out at the end of the day that they don't have any rights to what they just created. It happens in copyright law. It happens in, trademarks. It happens with brand names, identities, logos, things of that sort. But it's super important to make sure that you are protecting your stuff along the way and not just signing over anything, because what happened in that situation, I'm not really particular about the details, but it sounds as though he created it and may have signed like a release form. We do those at the firm as well, too, to ensure that our clients, when they're getting stuff created, like a logo, a slogan, any type of, contracting out with any type of independent contractor, that they have these forms, where they are releasing the rights to the ownership of these ideas per se, and it's staying with the actual owner of the company, and that owner of the brand or the company. In that situation, it sounds as though he may have signed over his rights got paid a percentage, may have had a licensing agreement or some sort of, monetary gain in the beginning, but ultimately over the course of seeing that brand grow into fruition, he only scratched the surface of what he could have gotten in total. So it is super important to make sure that you're not just signing over whatever or signing on a dotted line because someone is telling you to sign over something and offering you cash. You have an attorney look over that stuff. And B, you're at least obtaining or keeping some sort of rights to that property to where you're not homeless, 3 to 5 years later after inventing something that is so grand.
Yeah, because I mean, we all remember Kanye talking about they made $1 million a minute. They made $1 million a minute, and this man
Mm-hmm.
is homeless now. Oh, so can you break down exactly what is intellectual property and how
So,
people can predict it?
oh, sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead. No, just break down what it is to you all.
Okay, so intellectual property, it's like a trifold. So you think of intellectual property, you want to think about patents, trademarks, and copyrights.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Primarily, when you're talking about trademarks, you're talking about titles of literary arts, pieces of art or work or brands. So you want to think about the name of your brand, the logo, a slogan, things of that sort, podcast name, anything that's going out there on Front Street. When you're thinking about copyright, you want to think about the content, so the internal production of things. So like you can copyright an image. You can also copyright a book or a play or a movie script. The blog that you write, the script on your page, or the content that you post on the internet, the captions that you write. Those are like content surrounding or within that brand. So you want to think about copyright as being like the content, and then you want to think about patent as being more or less the idea behind it. So when they invented the toilet bowl or they invented the actual cup, that whole entire ideology, like behind like the whole scheme of things, is the actual patent of what you would be able to protect. It's the actual new work of art or an idea.
So now, in saying that, is it important for people to do that first when they're coming up with, let's say, like you just mentioned, a podcast, or let's say a line of clothing that they're coming up with? Is it important to do that first, or like after they've been somewhat established?
No, you actually want to make sure that you're doing it first. Just think about it. When you hear these celebrities, when you hear about their business, you hear about it after they filed the trademark. Rihanna's filed a new trademark for Fenty Kids line. So now you know she's coming up with a kids line. She hasn't released or dropped any bit of any piece of clothing yet, but you know it's coming because that trademark is filed. Trademark is a pivotal moment for you in business and in branding. You want to make sure you're doing that first quarter. And the reason being is you don't want to invest all that money into branding, into creating these companies, into the reproduction of this material when you turn around and find out that that name is actually taken. When you're doing the trademark process, we do what we call a knockout search. So we're able to unveil to you and let you know, hey, this is a risk factor associated with this actual name because there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 different other companies out here. There's 2 that are trademarked. There's 1 that's pending. We're kind of able to put you up on game about what exactly is going on with that mark in the specific field that you're looking to go into. So before you spend a dime on a brand that you don't own, you want to make sure that you have that availability and it is something that you can actually invest in wholeheartedly, knowing that your money's not just going down the drain.
Now, I know I didn't do that, and I probably should. I not probably saying it now. I should do that. Um, what is the cost? Because I heard it this morning too. What is the cost associated with that?
It depends. I mean, there's some firms that'll, do just the filing for you. But typically, I say our prices range from 1,500 anywhere from 1,500 to $2,500, depending on how many classes you want to classify,
Mm-hmm.
and what specific package you want to purchase. So depending on how many classes, when I say classes, I mean what type of services and goods you're going to be providing or selling,
Okay.
and how many of those you want to actually solidify and have ownership over. So it just really depends. But I mean, I'd say a average median rate is anywhere between $1,500 to $2,500 per application.
That's not bad.
Yeah, it's an investment. It's
Yeah.
definitely an investment. And it's an investment into ownership. Like I said before, trademarking is ensuring that you have that ownership right to the actual name, the logo, the slogan. It's making sure that you're going to be able to leave a legacy here when you die or when you're no longer here. You're going to be able to leave it to your children or your brand partners, whatever the case may be. You never want to be in a situation where, like I said before, you're investing in a brand you don't own, and not only that, but you're just building up something that you'll never be able to own.
Yeah, because you could what your petition is saying is that somebody, if they build a brand out and somebody already has rights to it, they actually could sit on it and wait for you to become highly successful and turn around and sue you.
They don't have to even wait for you to become highly successful. They could sue you immediately. That's what a
Oh, if I'm
trademark
trying to get
enforcer,
that bag,
right?
though, I'm gonna wait till
Yeah,
I get successful.
yeah.
So I
They
get
don't
it.
even have to wait. They don't even have to wait. And mind you, like even with you having your brand right now, I don't even have to. If I look it up, if someone looks it up and decides today, like, hey, I want to go ahead and trademark Antonio Hicks podcast name, and then he's gonna have to buy it from me. It's happened before. People get real
Oh,
petty.
really?
World, yes.
Oh,
He's
wow.
gonna have to buy it back from me if he wants that name. It's a first to file situation. So if they put out 2 episodes on a podcast, file for it and say, hey, this is my podcast name, and I've been using it since X, Y, and Z, they can actually file it before you and then ultimately get that registration before you, and then you'll be fighting hand, tooth, and nail to try to get it back.
Now, I've seen it happen with websites. I didn't know they could do that with anything else. Wow.
Yeah, they can do it with trademarks. They can do it with brand names. I've seen it happen before. I've seen some people that have been in business 5, 10, 20 years, and then they turn around and they're unable to trademark it because 15, 20 other brands have trademarked it after them or after they started using it.
Wow. So, well, I guess the time frame is the minute you come up with the idea of something that you really think you're going, well, I mean, yeah, because how would somebody measure that out? Because I'm going to use this podcast thing, for instance. And I'm using it just because of this morning meetup class that I'm on. And it's like they're trying to get a ton of people into podcasts. What if you paid that $2,500, let's say for all the classes, and I want you to, tell me what those classes are. And they decide that, I guess, a year into it, that is not really into the podcast thing. What happened? Can they just sell it, or is it something they just own?
So you own your trademark so long as you're continuing to use it. So once
Okay.
it's filed and registered, you have that ownership for 5 years. You have to renew it after 5 years.
Okay.
I always tell my clients, because there's two separate applications that you can file for. You can file an in use, meaning you have that class in use. You're actively selling the t-shirts. You're actively doing the podcast. You're actively doing the workshops and hosting the events, whatever it may be. Or you can do an intent to use application, which means that you haven't yet done it yet, but you plan to do it in the near future. So in a situation or in the event that they haven't done it yet, they would file the intent to use application.
Okay.
And that means that they would pay to continue to ask for extensions or request for extension of time to get it in use before anything pretty much manifests all the way into the registration phase. You have to have it in use. So before it can get registered, before the application can get registered, you have to show the United States Patent and Trademark Office, hey, it's actually in use. Here's my website. Here's my proof. So in the event that someone files for a trademark that they haven't yet used, or they are using now currently and they decide later before it gets to registration, they don't want to use it anymore. I mean, they can abandon that class or decide to take it off or remove it, or they can request additional time for them to either get their act together or want to decide to use it later on. But that filing of that trademark is like a placeholder. It holds, provides some sort of security for you to have ownership rights of that class. You can always, I wouldn't say always, but you can get it removed. But once it's registered, you have that 5-year mark to where you have to actually show use within that 5 years. After that 5 years of having it registered, you decide, oh, I'm done with that company. I don't want to use it anymore. You don't have to renew it.
Okay. Are you funny? You somebody get that act together.
No, because I've had people that because it's a long process. The trademark process takes about 12 to 18 months to fully register. I've
Oh,
had
really?
yes.
Wow.
It's not a file, walk in the park and it's done. We file and there's about 12 to 18 months. So you have to understand the level of commitment that not only we have at our firm, but we need our clients to have too with our brands. That's why we don't take every client.
Okay.
We handpick our specific clients that we want to work with or that we do work with, because we need that level of commitment to where you're not going to file with us May of 2023 and then turn around May of 2024 and say, I don't want to do it no more. Like, it was just an idea. Like,
Right.
you just wasted your money, and you, not only that, we wasted time. You know what I
Time.
mean? So
Yeah.
you have to be really fully committed to the brand or committed to the idea, and it starts as a thought, and then you have to really be, you know, in that mindset of saying, like, I want to really bring this to fruition. So I'm going to do whatever it takes to make sure that I have this brand and it's going to, you know, withstand time, the test of time.
So you say y'all handpick y'all clients or who y'all work with, which means y'all have had some horror stories before. Like, what's some of the worst cases you had where y'all had to do something like that? Or turn somebody away? If I can ask that. You don't have, I mean, you have to tell it. I'm just curious because I'm going by what you just said earlier, and I'm like, wow, like who would really pay up that money? You got to wait a full year and a half, and then you decide, nah, this ain't for me.
Yeah, I mean, most of the heavy lifting is done by us, but it does require, you know, partially, you know, some of the client to get some work done. Like, if you say you're going to do this podcast, we file an intent to use. Within that year, we're going to be, you know, pushing you and calling you and checking for updates. Hey, when is that podcast coming out? Have you released the show? Have you released this? Where is it released at? You know, we can't do that part of the work for you, but the
Right.
part of the work that is required of you, you have to make sure that you're doing your part too. So we have had clients that have come to us and have filed for something, and then they just, you know, it was just a dream at one point, and then they're like, I'm not doing it no longer. And you know, it's really nothing we could do at that point. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
besides try to motivate you. I love all of my clients. I'm not even gonna lie, even the ones that give me a hard time. I love all of my clients. I'm not just saying that because I'm on the interview. I actually love all my clients because I love what I do, and I love the I love the fact that I get to work with so many different moguls and just so many different brand owners and business owners and entrepreneurs. It's like just a small space of this world. And then to actually be able to work side by side and be a part of something so great, it's truly a precious moment. So I do love all of my clients. We have had some tough cookies here and there, whatever the case may be, but that's just business. You know,
Yeah.
you got to brush it off and keep moving. Like, if you don't know how to handle the downs, you know, you're not really deserving of the ups. So I take everything with a grain of salt. I don't take anything personal. I definitely learned early how to turn off that personal, and, you know, turn off personal and just get straight to the business. And I think my clients really appreciate that about me because it's nothing personal ever.
I mean, but in your case though, is there really a downside? Because you're getting paid to do what you do. I mean, outside of you have to do some work, sure.
I'm getting paid, but I'm also invested in these
In the
brands. Like,
idea.
I support my brand, my entrepreneurs. I'd like to buy their products. I'm like fully in tune, like, and invested into it. So yes, like, it's almost like, you know, although it's my client's baby, it's like part of my baby too, because you know, we building this up together. Like, we making the dream work. We making the teamwork make the dream work. So that part of it, like, actually getting invested in that, like, in that brand or that business. But you know, it's not really an L. It's just, you know, having that sentiment towards the brand owner or the entrepreneur, like, oh, you should do it. Like, it's a great idea. Like, I feel
Right.
like a lot of ideas that they come to me with are great ideas. They just have to have that push themselves.
So you've had people, I'm just curious now before I get into the other question. So you had people that you've been trying to encourage because you like the idea of the product and they just didn't follow through with it?
Well, they, you know, we filed for the trademark, and then, you know, we've either had to ask for extensions or things of that sort,
Uh-huh.
or, you know, they said, oh, well, I'm no longer doing it, so I'm no longer interested. Some people have, you know, I've been doing this since before COVID. So you got to understand a lot of people's mindset when it comes, excuse me, when it comes to entrepreneurship shifted. A lot of people
Yeah.
wanted to be an entrepreneur after COVID, and then now that things are simmering back out, you really see who the true entrepreneurs are, like the ones that are withstanding the test of time. So I have had that before. Um, Here and there, not too many. Most of our clients,
Uh-huh.
like I said, we handpick, we know, we can kind of tell off rip from the first consultation what type of client you're going to be.
Okay.
We, yeah, we have a really good job. We do a really good job at um, sizing them up, I would say.
So what are y'all's typical clients look like?
We have entrepreneurs, we have corporations, I have international clients. If you are not a U.S. citizen, you are required to have a U.S. attorney file your trademark. So I have quite a few international clients that want to do business here in the U.S. I have one as far as Tokyo, China. So it's like we have qu- quite a few different, like we have a lot of different clients.
And they've
All
approached you
different
all, or you
races.
all approached them?
They approach me. They approach us.
Okay.
Quite a few. We get leads every single day by the grace of God. Like I said, it was something that literally came and sat in my lap, and the momentum and and just everything has just been going since the beginning. Like when I first jumped off and decided, hey, I'm going to do this thing. I'm going to start my firm. I'm going to do trademarks full time, with no job. Everything literally just started falling in my lap. So clients have just been rolling in. I think it's just word of mouth, advertisement, putting the website out there, SEO stuff. Just been working for me. It's been working in my favor by the grace of God.
I mean, I can see how that would be busy though, because I mean, everybody's coming up with different ideas, especially after COVID. People saw that corporate America really wasn't the answer to everything. I mean, of course, we were still gonna have our worker bees out there, but we saw how somebody can easily let you go. So it's like, why not venture off to have something else on your own, even if you are working a full-time job, just to have some extra income coming in. So I can see
Absolutely.
how that would keep you busy.
Yes, absolutely. Everybody needs a trademark. I think it's up to me to be able to sell it, to be able to show them why they need one. But everybody needs a trademark or two or three. I have a serial trademarker clients that have filed like 20 plus trademarks yearly. But
Yearly?
yeah, everybody needs a trademark.
So I'm curious about that. Like, what is he doing with all of this? Just holding on to the names or the ideas?
Names, domains. No, he's actually working them. Like he's doing stuff with them. But he's
Wow.
yeah, he's doing things with all of his trademarks. He's literally doing something with every last one of them. They're not even, when we first originally filed for them, they were intent to use, but now they're actually in use. So he's a serial entrepreneur.
Wow.
He believes in brand protection and believes in his work and his brand and his vision. So he wants and knows the importance of having that protection and wants it protected.
Now, after the 5 years, what's the cost to renew it after 5 years?
So with renewals, it's a little bit cheaper. Our starting rate for renewals is $750.
Okay.
So just to renew it and make sure that you have it after that 5 years is $750, and then so you renew it 5 year mark. In between year 5 and 6, you renew it again in between year 9 and 10. So 5 more years after that, and then after the 10-year mark, it's every 10 years.
Okay.
Yeah.
So now, can you explain the difference between like trademarks, copyrights, and patents, and when each one of them like be the appropriate time to use it?
So patent is more like, an invention of something that hasn't been invented yet. It's an idea. It's something that hasn't been invented yet. So when you have that idea and you know that it hasn't been invented yet, you want to get started with the patent process, because the patent process can be even longer than the trademark process.
Not
Sometimes
that I do know.
3 to 5 years, sometimes even longer, depending on the complexity of it. I don't primarily practice in patents. I typically refer those type of cases out, so I can only briefly scratch the surface on what I know about that. But patents is more or less for the idea of something, protecting that idea of something that hasn't yet been invented yet.
Okay.
Or your own rendition of it or whatnot, so long as it's not, too similar to what has already been invented. Copyright comes into play when you want to protect the actual contents. So for example, when who was that? 21 Savage and Drake had the cover that looked like Vogue. That was more or less a copyright infringement, because it was clear as day that they were using some sort of rendition of how Vogue was, and they were actually making money off of it. So they had to end up changing the cover and then paying up whatever they ended up settling out for that for that use of that for that album. So copyright would more or less be so more along the lines of the content. If you're going to write a song and someone steals your actual song, same song, what Soulja Boy said, bar for bar, then you want to make sure that you're stepping up and getting that copyright infringement case done, because they're actually stealing your words, your work of art, word for word. That's when copyright would come into play. You want to think about content when you think about copyright, and then trademark comes into play when someone steals your whole brand identity. So it doesn't necessarily have to be the same exact name. If it has the same type of connotation, if people read it and it looks one way or the other. I think Starbucks had like a dispute a while ago with another company that was like Sandbucks or something similar, but it was both selling coffee. So they were primarily in the same channels of work, and it was basically Starbucks versus something Bucks.
Like the McDowell's?
Yeah, McDonald's and McDowell's, and they both were selling fast food. So, it's going to confuse the consumer. Whatever the standard is, likelihood of confusion. So if it would confuse a consumer in the marketplace to where they wouldn't know, okay, I thought they were the same thing, then that's where that confusion lies. So when you think about trademarks, you want to think about the actual title of your brand, or if a logo looks way too similar to that other brand, then that's where trademark would come into play, and where you would be able to defend yourself in that manner.
Okay. Now it's got me onto actual different question. So now with AI coming out, and I don't know if you heard the Drake and Weekend song that's actually went viral.
I did. I like that song.
I do. I like that song too.
It was good.
That
I was
song
like,
was
they need
good.
to work. They need to work together.
Right. But he's saying he's trying to figure out a way. Can you copyright or trade like your voice? I don't think you can do that, can you?
So with some sounds, it can be you can have protection for some sounds.
Okay.
There is like some sort of limited protection for it, but there are, you are able to get protection in the intellectual property space for sounds.
Okay.
But I think it was more so along the lines of the likeness of it. So it was portraying to be him, and that's why it was getting so much notoriety and fame. So that's why they were saying that it's too close. It's too close for comfort, and it's more or less capitalizing off of him and his likeness. So that's why there was a bit of confusion there.
Can he do something about that?
So
in your
they
opinion?
were. I believe so. It is all still very new, and the laws are the laws as it pertains to what we have available. So with AI not being so readily available before, they may not have any specific laws to it, but as it pertains to like the likeness of his voice and of the actual records that are being produced, the I think Sony and the rest of the music companies were able to kind of get it taken down. I believe so. They were able to. I want to say they were able to get it taken down because of the likeness, or they were trying to get it taken down. And I believe they're probably going to do some sort of infringement suit or something of that sort, to where it's way too close or similar to the actual artist.
Yeah, because I was curious about it, because I'm like, I see if you use their song and the stuff that they've written, but if you created something from scratch and you just use their voice, I didn't think they could like copyright their actual voice itself, because their voice is in the public.
It is. So it's going to be a bit tricky, but like I said, you can have protection for certain sounds. Not necessarily. I don't believe that there is particular protection for actual voices. It's just the likeness that there is of the other two. But that's going to be something that is going to be researched, and I think that that's going to be something that's going to be talked about, and probably have some type of pending laws available, because AI is really changing the game right now.
Yes, it is. Yeah. Are you using AI?
I have briefly started using it. My videographer showed me and put me up on game about how we could start using it for drafting captions and stuff like that, which I think is pretty cool. But like, I'm so used to like making everything sound like me, and like wanting to have my flavor and my feel and my touch on it. But in the essence of working smarter, not harder, I think that AI is probably going to be a major benefit.
Yeah, speed up your workflow. Yeah.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, because I know I use it for like when I edit myself up personally, but then when it's like caption, I use it in Adobe Premiere Pro and this mobile app called CapCut. I think everybody's using it now too.
Yeah, I've heard of CapCut. How do you like that app?
I mean, I like it. It's not as robust as, like I said, like a full application, but to get the job done and get it online, no, it's perfect.
Okay, gotcha.
It's perfect. So what do you think the future of intellectual property, what does it look like? And how do you think it's going to like evolve over time?
I mean, AI. Intellectual property, IP, has been around for quite some time now. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I think that it's definitely evolving, um, just in the realm of, you know, certain laws being like, pulled back on, and, just opening up to just the way that modern world works now. I think that just a bunch of like our, like you would see like a lot of our slogans and slang and stuff like that is starting to be trademarked, and a lot of our people, for instance, is we're starting to take it a little bit more serious too. So just getting a lot more diversity when it comes to trademark. I feel that that's already been shaping intellectual property world, but I think for the future, I think it's going to more so veer over to the modern side, more or less. I feel like it's still going to have its own stake, but I mean, I think that with the progression of society, and then just so many more innovatives and creatives and people being out there just wanting to do different things, like it's probably going to crack the code pretty soon.
Now, where do you see yourself in this social media content creator network? Because you're a content creator too.
Yeah, I am. And it's so funny because like you have to get out of the mindset of just being like one track mind. It's like, oh yeah, I'm a lawyer, but I am also a content creator. So it is funny like now embracing that more or less, but like putting the content out there for people to be able to see. I see myself like continuing to do my thing when it comes to content creation and putting that out information out there. Growing my accounts on all scales. I'm starting to get my momentum of posting on all sites. That has been um, a tremendous game changer for me this past year. But I definitely see myself just growing in that field, and learning with my clients too. I love taking on cases that I've scratched the surface on and don't really know about, and and then just can crack the code and figure it out. So just growing more or less with my clients as well too. So I see myself just spreading my wings and flying like an eagle. Honestly, just taking my taking my time with it, and putting stuff out there, and just being a asset, adding value.
Okay. Now, can you share like any advice for individuals or companies like looking to protect their intellectual property rights?
Start early. That's one of the biggest pieces of advice that I can give. Just definitely start early, even if it's just getting information, have an idea of who you would want to work with. It is a long period of time that you'll be working with that person. So make sure that you guys, you actually like the person and can get along with them for quite some time. But also just start early, and never think that it's um, too early to start. Some people, like I said, they start to protect these things before they actually ever put a piece of product out there.
Okay.
And it's always best to do it that way, because you know that you're investing in a brand that you actually own, and not something that's, you'll never be able to own. So that's my biggest piece of advice. Definitely start early. Never think it's too early to start. And then just, if it's something that you believe in, invest in it. That's another piece of advice. A lot of people, they waver the fence, and I feel like by having that trademark, it's like, all right, I did it. I took the first step. I filed that trademark. I gotta make something shake now. So it kind of
Yeah.
puts that fire under your behind to make sure that you're getting your stuff done, because, like I said, it has to get in use by the time it gets registered. So if you're getting that trademark, that's how I know you're really taking your brand seriously.
So with somebody going through their process, I'm gonna give you an example. This morning, one of the young ladies, she's came up with this online course, and some of her stuff is like written material. She was advised just to go ahead and pursue getting copyrights for it, but then to go ahead and start selling the product too, because you don't want to wait to start making money. Do you recommend that, or do you recommend just somebody like her waiting a year and a half before she starts putting the product out there?
No, I don't recommend waiting. The thing about it is, from the date of filing is when you start to matriculate some of those protection rights as it
Okay.
pertains to trademarks, especially. So although we know that the process takes about a year and a half, once you file that trademark, you are able to pretty much have access to a lot of the rights that you have from the trademark. You're not able to use the register R symbol, but you are able to use the trademark symbol, which warns people and lets people know, hey, I have a trademark application out there. Don't touch my stuff. So basically, like, it lets people know, like, don't, come over here trying to bite my stuff, because I have a mark out there. And then you are actually able to start sending people cease and desist letters from the data filing as well too. So it dates back to the data filing. You start to get some of those rights from the data filing. So I wouldn't advise her to wait until a year and a half later. It's not a requirement. You can actually start defending yourself while you're in the trademark process.
Okay. Now I'm gonna ask the old country. I don't know where you from. I'm from I'm from the South. And
Where
the
are
one
you from?
I'm from Macon, Georgia.
Oh, okay. You from Georgia. I'm from Jacksonville, Florida.
Okay.
Yeah.
Y'all ain't the South.
We sort of, we southern, we more south than y'all.
Yeah, you are.
Looking at the map, we more south than y'all.
You are.
Yes.
But man, I'm in that. Well, I guess it is the Bible Belt. Yeah, y'all are. I'll give you that one.
Yeah, we there, Jacksonville, Florida.
But you're not as southern as we are.
Not quite.
So I know for me growing up, like one of the old country things they would say to do is if you have an idea to write it down and put a date across the top and mail it to yourself, and you could sue somebody from that. Is that true? Right, I'm trying to get these urban myths out of the way.
They call that a dead man's trademark, a dead man copyright, or something like that. That is not true. And if you took that to the USPTO's office, they will say this dead man trademark copyright is fake news. They will look at you and laugh. It is not true. I don't know why they said that was something that worked. Maybe in the old days that was something that sufficed, but with this new United States Patent and Trademark Office, absolutely, immediately no.
You've never heard of that before?
I've heard of it before. They call it dead man's
trademark. Yeah, I'm like, yeah, people say that all the time because
poor man's trademark. I think it's poor man's trademark.
Yeah, because I mean, like you said early on, like with our community, to us, it seemed when you were talking about like trademark and anything to that degree, we're thinking like the thousands and thousands of $1,000s that you haven't even have made yet from the business idea. So it's like, I can just write it out and mail it to myself and I should be to protect myself. But I mean, you tell me the 2,500, 3,000, that's not bad at all. I mean, you spend on the phone nowadays.
Yeah, you spend that on clothes and bags and shoes and trips and the clubs and sections and bottles. So yeah.
No, we can't. We gotta take the trips out of the picture. Trips are memories. We can't. Bags, yes, but not the trips. Gotta take trips.
Hey, depending on where you going and how early you buy the flight, it could be.
Oh, it is. Oh, yeah. Hey, yeah. If you go from one end of the country to the next, is the ticket alone is almost $700-800. And that's just a ticket. That's not hotel and everything else that you're doing. Yeah, you gonna spend it.
Facts. But yeah, don't be out here doing the poor man's trademark. That's gonna leave you out here poor man, like that man we was talking about earlier. That's homeless. Don't be out here doing that, because
that agitates the hell out of me. I mean, because you have to think this man, and I can understand him. The Kardashians and approached him. He's thinking, oh my God, wow, these famous celebrities approached me to develop that app, and you developed the app for them, and you see how successful it becomes, and you can't participate in that success. Yeah, that would make me mad.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. But he had to have signed it over. He had to have signed over his rights, or either didn't have an attorney that looked over it properly. But I'm not even gonna put that back on us as the attorneys. Let's just say he signed over his rights or something.
Yeah, he signed over his. I'm pretty sure he signed over his rights.
Had to.
Yeah, because I mean, there is no way in the world that you would think that you came up with this and then you allowed them to take all that stuff. He signed his rights over, and I guess once he realized the mistake he made, that's when he tried to sue, and it didn't work, and they won their countersuit against him.
Absolutely, and that's why I'm just like, yeah, that doesn't make any sense at all.
I mean, that's why I tell people to read the terms of service of stuff they'll be signing up for, because I work in IT and I'm all about protecting your data. And people just arbitrarily just go in and start signing off on stuff just to hurry up and get into the application. I'm like, you need to know what the hell are you signing your stuff over into in your data itself, because you don't know how they're going to use it and how they could actually use your pictures or whatever you upload, like on social media and whatnot.
I agree.
So
that's just like when the I think they had like the AI where everybody was looking like the cartoons and stuff. Signing over all that stuff, and I wouldn't be surprised if they got clones of us walking around.
I did it. I mean, but
I did it too. I
I
mean, hey,
understand what I'm giving up.
if you see a clone that look like me, hey, I did it. I did. So.
I mean, we all got our doppelgangers out there.
And the facial recognition on all the apps. Like look at TikTok and Instagram, and I mean they've been doing it. So hey, who's to
Somebody
say?
get real political. Even with all that facial recognition, they still can't get black folks right. But I'm not trying to mess up Alicia's job. So I'm just saying.
I'm gonna just be quiet on that one.
Because there's people in here in this group that I'm in, like this building I'm in, they actually work with, I don't know you're gonna call the companies, and they work with companies to help them recognize how us black people look in AI.
Interesting.
Yeah, that's a job to have. Now, how you distinguish that?
Job.
Yeah.
That is a very interesting job.
Because when they first came out with like the facial recognition, I mean, it's sad to say, but it's the truth. It will always classify us as looking the same, just about always looking the same.
Yeah, there was a biography or sometimes there was like a show on Netflix where it was talking about that. Mm-hmm. And it was like overseas where people were doing the facial recognition. They were trying to like combat crime, and they were always they realized that a lot of that stuff was it was racially biased. Yep. Like completely racially biased. So they were getting into that, and it was like backed by science that it was. Like they were like, how is all of this stuff? Even with one of these companies, I won't mention because I don't remember which one it was, but one of these major corporations, they were using it to do like the hiring process. And they realized later that they were like throwing out all the black applications. Yep. So yeah, it gets real. And it's like, how do you train a computer to be racist? Like who is behind the scenes training a computer? Like you have to feed it the information. Yep. So how are you training a computer to be racist? Like it was beyond me. I was like, wow, this is crazy.
And now you know who's working those jobs and who was not working those jobs.
Another reason to start your own business and get your trademark. Hey, yep. You can be the one that's hiring and firing and doing all that with your own business.
Because I see it even in, like, I don't never call my companies, but I see it in my own companies. And like, it's a lot of minorities, like on the lower levels. But the minute you start getting up in, because to work in AI or machine learning, it's not typically jobs where you see a whole bunch of us at. So we don't have a seat at the table.
Absolutely not.
And then we are up there. They won't listen to us anyway because never mind. I'm gonna get on something else. So back on it. So what are so as we start to wind down? So what are some of the like ethical considerations involved in like intellectual property law, and how do you ensure that you uphold those ethical standards when working with like your clients?
So I mean, ethical, of course, is just making sure that you're abiding by your specific state rules of the bar, ABA rules, American Bar Association rules. So just keeping client communication open, keeping client information confidential, making sure that you're doing your due diligence to look and research these companies, look and research the information these clients are giving you, because you never want to you never want to be in a situation where you're backdooring another client or somebody else that can come after you and be like, oh, well, y'all stole this or y'all stole that. So just doing your due diligence to make sure that you're fact checking these clients, like not just listening to what they're saying the first time, making sure that they're providing the information, that they're saying, to be able to fully stand on that, keeping records, appropriate records, and, making sure that you're not disclosing any of the records or any of that information. Also making sure that if you are working with a client or a brand, and if it's too similar to a new client or brand that comes in, that you're not working both of the cases, you're referring it out. So doing that check in the beginning to make sure that there are no conflicts. Those are a few of the different, ethical obligations that I have to my clients for trademarking. Yeah.
Okay. I had another question. I had a brain fart. I forgot what I was going to ask you. Oh, so early on, you were saying that you want to make sure that you're working with the right person as far as like the lawyer. Why would there be a conflict if I'm coming to you to have you do my trademark or my copyright?
Well, when I say that, I mean, I said it meaning like I want to work with clients that are very serious about their brand. Like I said, so we're doing a lot of the heavy lifting, of course, but
Yeah.
like I want to make sure that I'm working with clients that are very serious about their brand, for one, that are taking it seriously, and that aren't going to just crap out in the middle of the journey and say, I don't, I don't want to, I no longer want to do it.
Okay.
The people that are on fire about their brands, because we bring the fire, we bring the excitement, we push you, we do all of that stuff. But like, I want to make sure I'm working with clients that have that same type of energy as well too. So since being an attorney, we have the right to be able to work with clients that we like, clients that we want to work with. We don't have to work with everyone. I just, I make sure I handpick my clients. Like, um, I'm not saying it like I turn away a lot of people, but I do handpick. Like, I do make sure that there is going to be a good fit. One thing that I have, put at the forefront of my legal journey is making sure that I have a great work and life balance. And I think that plays a vital role in the type of clients that I select or that I choose to work with, and the type of cases that I choose to take on. So I just make sure that I steer clear of any red flags in the beginning, so I don't have to have that headache 8-9 months down the line, knowing that I have to work with you for 12 to 18 months.
Yeah. Yeah. No, you don't want that at all.
Exactly. Exactly.
So as we wind down, where can people find you if they want to put their name in the hat and have you investigate them before they find out that you don't want to work with them?
Wow, Mr. Hicks, don't do me like that.
No,
Wow.
I no. Believe me, 100%. I understand that. I was talking to the guy yesterday, well,
I
earlier
should have never
today.
said that. See,
No, no. I
you
like
trolling
honesty.
me. You gonna
Uh,
keep trolling me.
no, because it's the truth. So I've been doing this for like 3 years now, and like I
Mm-hmm.
ran for office. So I did my grind in the street. I'm a big nerd, so I know my technology stuff because I've been working in IT for 20 something years. So when people come to me and want to get a part of like what I've created, if they don't, people don't be coming correct. So I understand it 100%.
Yeah, it's a
You have to,
part of business. It's nothing
yeah,
personal. It's just literally
no,
a part of business.
oh,
I have not had to turn down that many clients. Like, I haven't. It's not like I have like 20 people coming. I only choose 5 of them. Like, it's not like that. But like, I have learned, and I was just talking to one of my interns about it. She was like, well, what if, we don't morally connect with the client, or, we have just so many different, I don't bring those more, I don't bring any type of like outside opinion. So politics, me and my clients don't discuss that. So if
yeah,
you're a hard liberal or Republican or Democrat or whatever the case may be, that's your business. That has nothing to do with me and my business and how I run my trademarks. But I do like to work in an environment to where I'm gonna have peace. And if
yeah,
you're one of those type of clients that I can see in the beginning and I can spot it in the beginning, that I might not want to, I might not have it, or I might not have that peace with you, then hey, that I have that ability to be able to do it. But you can find me for those who want to get a trademark. I promise I'm not ruthless when it comes to my selection process. Um, we take everybody in for a consultation, so at least come talk to us. But you can find me at Attorney Willishia. That's Attorney Attorney Willishia Willishia on Instagram, and then Facebook as well as TikTok as well. And then yeah, you can find me on all 3 of those pages if you want to have a consult and reach out. You can also find me on EsquireLitigationGroup.com. I'm in the Miami branch, and then you can also find me at thebrandplant.org.
yeah. And I'm just teasing y'all. When y'all go to her page, she's a high energy person. Like you can tell by the vibe on her pages that this is somebody you really would want to work with, which is why I reached out. Well, I was referred to her, but I'm glad I was referred to her because clearly she's doing something good to have somebody refer to her outside the state. So that
Yes.
speaks to who she is. So I ain't
Speaks
throwing no
volumes.
shade your way. I said it speaks to who you are.
Yes, it speaks volumes, and I'm truly appreciative of it. You'd be surprised how many connections you can get from social media and just by interacting with people. Um, I believe I met Luncheon Lawyer. Alicia is her name, right?
Yeah, Alicia. Yeah.
Alicia. I've met Alicia at a birthday dinner before, and her energy is always on 10. Like, I just always love her, all of her content and everything else, and just interacting on social media, and then her putting, you in my path, and just exchanging of connections and contacts. Like, social media takes y'all places. So be serious when it comes to your content and your branding, and just putting yourself out there. You never know who you may reach out to or what type of connections you would, or opportunities you may get out of it. So it's definitely a place of opportunity.
Yeah, she's a peach. I protect all my peaches. So
she is. I like her.
So one thing I do ask is that all of my guests leave with a final thought, a word of encouragement, especially these people trying to get some copyright stuff done, and they've been doing it the dead man's copyright.
So this just for motivation purposes, or is this like just surrounding like trademarks and law and business? And
it could be both.
Okay. So I just like to say, don't sleep on your dreams. Make sure that you are putting in the work and doing what you need to do on your behalf. God won't work unless you do. So make sure that you're doing your better half and showing up every day, even if that's the least you can do. The half of the battle is showing up. So as long as you wake up every day, put your best foot forward when it comes to your brand, when it comes to networking, scratching off these things off of your to-do list. That's half the battle. So you can do it. I believe in you. And I'm here if you ever need a trademark.
Amen to that. And I'll piggyback off of that. I think that even once you start on the process, don't ever get leery on what you're doing, because once you start the process, that's when the true work actually begins. So no matter if it takes a year or no matter if it takes 2 years, just continue working on your journey. And if you keep working on your journey, then you eventually will be blessed in everything that you have going for you. So thank you again for coming on.
Thank you for having me. It's been a pleasure.
I mean, I love to have you back, because like I said, there's more I like to ask. And I'm sure there's more that once I actually put your episode out there, people want to know too, because this is something I hear come up a lot of the time. So like I said, I'm glad you was on to answer some questions. And y'all can find me on PTGtv.online or on Mr._Antonio Hicks. I am putting on my personal page. And I will turn you down coming on to my personal page. I will turn you away. My business page is PTGtv.online. No, PTGtv. And that's everywhere. That's on, I think, TikTok as well, too. So thank y'all for tuning in. Love you all. Live, love, laugh.
Penetrate. All I know is aim, target, lock, shoot, disintegrate. Once I get this spit in this spaz and they hyperventilate. Yeah, I understand it's your wife, but I call it.